dataset, please click on the link. It will open the dataset online, but locate the download toolkit on the locate the download toolkit while online so that you are able to have the data sitting on your laptop. Otherwise, you'd be seeing the changes that I'm making, so you'll not be able to get the opportunity to also work on this. So that's different data sets that sit in whichever, as long as are aligned and the columns are also aligned, you're able to stack them all together and it all makes meaningful sense instead of doing them one at a time. And as such, you can see we have been able to do this stacking and we have our data all sitting pretty together all right here. Now, notice that this is an array function. This is an array function. Array, I'll just write the word array function here. So this is an array function. And what I mean by an array function is not one formula, and that one formula affected this whole range of cells to be able to get us the result we were anticipating to have. If Microsoft did modifications that allow us to only press enter, initially we would have needed to press Control-Shift-Enter, but because of the adjustments that have been made, a simple press on the enter suffices. So this is an array function. Notice that we've said an array function is a function whose formula syntax affects multiple cells or brings the result on multiple cells at the same time. Thank you for those who are saying they've been able to do the V stacking. Today I just have I thought are useful and new that we will try and explore. So that was the first formula that I wanted us to be able to look at. Just what is saying they've been able to achieve it. Thank you so very much. Do we have anybody who is finding a challenge finalizing on the V stacking? Remember, we have said V stands for vertical, so we are basically stacking our data vertically going down. That is essentially what V stacking is about. Anybody who has had a challenge with doing that? I suppose not. So then we shall swiftly proceed to the next function. Now, I also want us to achieve an interesting thing here. Notice that my product listing as created on column B do not have numbers. I would want to know how many products I have. And I would like it that when another product comes on board, automatically the numbering adjusts. So basically, I just want here to have just on the left side of the word product, I will write serial number. And basically what I want of serial number, I would want cosmetics to be number 1, stationery to be number 2, all the way to jewelry. Anybody who has an idea how we'll achieve that? I basically want that we have all the products numbered so that cosmetics is product number 1, stationery product 2, like that, all the way to jewelry. Then more interestingly, in the event I have another product coming on board, I would wish that automatically the succeeding number, depending on how many these products already are, the succeeding number already adjusts itself. How can we be able to achieve that? Any thoughts? Thoughts from the group? Any trials? Okay, so again, in the interest of time, I think I'll just proceed so that we don't spend so much time. I would wish to leave some minutes for discussion in the event anybody would be interested in asking questions. So basically what I'm looking for is having all these items numbered. Now, logically, you can of course decide to use the inbuilt sequencing model that Excel has, which is to type 1 and then type 2, then select on the first 2 and drag it all the way down to jewelry like that. That is okay. But the challenge with this is that in the event in our processing in this organization of ours, assuming another product comes on board, let's say that new product, we want to call it, what name do we give it? Let's call it Combo. There's a new product we've introduced called Combo. When I press enter on it, it will not have been numbered. Or even if I add another grouping, let's say we have another stacking that we do, and we have another listing of events, they will not have the numbers automatically. You will probably have to come to 13, then try drag it down like that. Actually, click 12 and 13, then drag it down. And I want to avoid that. I want to try and automate my systems here. Okay. What we will do, I've just undone the numbering that we did there. So if I want to have that automatic sequence numbering, which automatically adjusts depending on the number of products that we have, such that even if the product reduces, then the number reduces from the current 13 to 12 or 10, depending on what we have, then there's a quick formula we can write that will assist us with that. So it's just basically two formulas that we're going to bring together, which are when we bring in two formulas, we call it, we say we have nested formulas. We have more than one formula in one to achieve an objective. We say we have nested formulas. So what I will do, I'll put my cursor just below the serial number that we created. I will put my cursor just below the serial number we created. And just before it escapes my mind, I think you must have noticed that there are some numbers that keep playing around and changing depending on when you press an enter or when you make an entry on your Excel file. That is because, like I mentioned when we started, I just randomly created these products and these numbers. So for some of them, I just randomized the numbers using a formula. So whenever the numbers keep changing, in whichever cell the numbers keep changing, just click on it and you will see there's a formula that runs in there. So I was just creating random numbers. So that random number keeps changing whenever I press an enter or whenever I do another entry, because that is when Microsoft Excel refreshes the input in the Excel file. So don't be worried about that. If you do not want it to keep changing, you can just select the area, control copy, then paste in the same area as values. Again, that is something we have done before in our classes. So again, you just select it, copy, paste in the same area as values, paste 1, 2, 3, and the changes will have stopped, because now we will have disabled the formula that keeps them adjusting as we refresh the Excel sheet. So now that has been sorted on my end at least. But if you don't mind them changing, then it's okay. As I said, these are just random numbers. Now, what we're trying to achieve again is to have our automatic numbering here, which adjusts upwards or downwards depending on the products that we have. So we will write a formula, which is a nested formula. Nested because it is two functions joined into one. So the first function is called sequence. So type equals sequence, just the word sequence as you know it in English. Just the word sequence as you know it in English. Then when you can see the word sequence, double click on it or press tab and then open your brackets. Double click, tab, open your brackets. So we have the word sequence, open bracket. Then inside the opened bracket, I want you to type the word CountA. CountA. Some people read that as CountA, but it's basically count of alphabets or of alphanumerics. The count of alphanumerics, so CountA. So we've written the word sequence, open double brackets. Then we have count of alphanumerics. So we have our formulas equals sequence, open bracket, CountA, open bracket. Then now we will reference our cell, because our formula now needs us to give it the value that is going to sequence. We will reference our cell to the very first product that we have. So the very first product is in cell B5. And because my formula has become a bit long, I'm not able to click on B5. I can click on cell C5, then press the left arrow key so I can just click on B5 as it is. And then at that point, I will close my brackets. Because we have two open brackets, I will close the brackets twice, then press enter. I will close the bracket twice, then press enter. And when I drag, I will close the bracket twice and then press enter. Have we done that? Now that gives us serial number 1 for the first product. But we would wish the sequencing to happen for all our products going down. We would wish the sequencing to happen for all the products going down. So we are not going to drag this formula down, because if we drag the formula down, then how do we know when or the number of products we will ever have, whether they will increase or decrease? So what we want to do, we will change the formula. Instead of having it as B5, we will want the formula to actually read the entirety of column B, so that however long the list continues growing, the sequencing can continue running, all right? So where we have B5 in our formula, just click on where we have B5 in our formula. And to make it easy, just delete the B5, but have your cursor still blinking in the two red curly brackets, the two red brackets rather. Then click on column B up here. You see where my cursor is at? Click on the column header B. Alternatively, we could have written B colon B. But just to see where that comes from, click on the column head B like that. Click on the column head B like that. Then press enter. Then press enter. Automatically, we will be having our sequencing having been done for all our products, all the way from from product number 1 to product number 15. Now, the reason why it's at product 15, remember when I was just explaining, there's a new product I added called, I think, combo. I'd added it on this row that has serial number 14. That is what has spiraled over into that's why it has spiraled over to 15, because remember we were saying this formula is supposed to give us one additional entry after the end of the product listing that we have. So that when I now come here and put the product combo and press enter, automatically serial number 16 will appear. So for this one, because I'd placed in that item combo in the short memory of the computer, which is what most of you would call the RAM, it's already being recognized that I had an entry and that has not been updated. So then it's recognizing that we already had a new input here. So it's giving us 2 open entries. But if I'd done that without the combo, then we should only be having 1 additional input for our items here. So perhaps I can try it on this column this side by having the same formula here. So the formula is sequence, and then count of all our alphabets. I've actually seen the reason. I have seen the reason why. It's actually counting including the products. It is counting including our product listing. So sequence count A. At then say we want only to count column H like that. And when we press enter, actually, this is basically what I was explaining. So you see, for this other case, it only gave us 1 additional entry because I had not entered that manual entry there. So if I come here and let's say we have a new product called J, when I press enter, automatically it gives me number 7. If it happens that product J disappears from the entry, then automatically the numbering adjusts backward. You see number 7 automatically disappears. If I delete footwear and click away, number 6 will automatically disappear. So that is basically what that second function allows us to be able to do. So we are able to have our automatic numbering system here, so that if we were to add another product here in future, then automatically number 17 comes on board, and like that. Again, back to you guys. Have we been able to achieve that numbering sequence? Have we been able to achieve the numbering sequence? Kindly confirm in the chat box. Kindly confirm in the chat box. Have we been able to achieve the numbering sequence there? Oh, have we been able to achieve the numbering sequence? Aha, thank you. Confirmation that has been achieved. That is good. Thank you. Kawira confirms she has been able to, so I want to assume that is the same for all of us. So that is the second function that I wanted to have. Thank you, Josephat, for confirming. I want us to go to the third function that I also wanted us to be able to learn. I want us to go to the third function that I also wanted us to be able to learn. Now, the third function is a transpose. The third function is a transpose. Basically, what a transpose does, if you remember it from a course that you may have done in college or in high school, depending, what a transpose does is it converts the array of your data from vertical to horizontal, or vice versa, depending on how your data is, such that currently our data sits on, I want to select this data and I want you to be looking at this box here called the name box. This box just on the left side of the formula bar. When I select this area, it will tell us how many columns and rows our data spans. So our data spans 14 rows and 5 columns. If we transpose it, the number of columns and rows will interchange, which means our data will now sit on 5 rows and 14 columns. Basically, what we will achieve if we transpose this data is we will have the word product here. Instead of having the word margins in the next column, we will have the word margins below it here, margins, and then sales like that. Then now for the details, cosmetic 0.95, 0.28 will follow, so that we will have only 5 columns with the headers product, margin, sales, revenue, cost, and then the details, so that our data will now be on more or less this area. Okay, so that is what a transpose does. And depending on the kind of analysis you do, sometimes you might need to be able to do a transpose. So I'm going to show us how to be able to achieve that. Now, the good thing is for the transpose, there are actually numerous ways of being able to achieve a transpose. We can achieve a transpose using a paste command, or we can use a function. So I'm going to show how to do it using a function first, then we'll come back and show it. Just point out on how to do using the paste command that I'm hinting at. So how we do the function. So allow me to just first write here the other formula that we've already gone through. So we've done sequence and CountA. CountA, just in case there's anybody who is trying to remember what we've done. So that's the second function we've done, and the third one will be transpose. Transpose like that. So if you wanted to transpose this area, then we may need to first write our function. And how we'll write the function is just, again, very simple, equals transpose. Now, again, remember, like I said, Microsoft Excel has made it easier now to write, array functions. Has made it easier to write array function. Initially, we ought have first selected an area that is equivalent to where we want to paste the data, but that was sorted. Now you can just write your array function without having to preempt how long it's going to run. So we are going to write the name transpose. It's a function. Then press tab or double click on it. Then simply come and select the area you'd wish to transpose. The area you'd wish to transpose. So I've decided I want to transpose. Actually, let us just transpose the products. I know when you transpose the serial numbers, the formula will fail at some point. So let us only transpose the products all the way to the new product combo that I created. So that is the area we want to transpose. And when you press your enter, we have our transpose seated there perfectly. So you can see we have product, margin, sales, just the way I said. So basically, this top row in our original data, you can see here it sits on row number 4. It has now been converted. It now sits on column number H. Then this column of products now sits on this row. So basically, it's like you tilt the data set the way it sits. You just basically tilt the data set so that it sits in the opposite of how you imagined or how it was initially. That is using a function, the transpose function. We could have achieved the same thing without necessarily going to the function. What we could have done is we could have selected this data. We could have selected the original data, controlled copy. Or actually, let us transpose the one we have pasted, this one, the one we've done using a function. Let us transpose it back so that we see if it will bring the same result we have here. So I want you to put your cursor on the word product. And because this one is longer horizontally across the columns, I'll want you to press Control Shift, then press the right arrow key once to go to the very end, and the down arrow key also once, so that the whole thing is selected. If you didn't get that, you can manually drag. But what I've done is you can put your cursor anywhere inside the one with the formula, then you can press Control A as an alternative. That will select the entire of that area. then press Control C. Remember, Control C is the shortcut for pasting. Control C is the shortcut for pasting. Then now, I'll want you to come and paste it. Let us just paste it below the original list so that we can also try and see if our serial number actually does that just the way we said. So because I have this new product combo, I'll just leave it in there. I'll put my cursor on the very next available cell. But now, because I want to paste it without the function, initially we have illustrated how to paste with the function. I now want to paste it without the function. I'll put my cursor on the first cell in there. Go to the paste command up in your ribbon, locate where it's written paste, click on the drop down, and then you will see transpose. You will see transpose in the very first options, the last item under paste. It has a downward pointing and rightward pointing arrow. That is the transpose function. Click on that icon, and automatically we should be able to have our transpose data set. Let me see that again. So we copied this here, and we wanted to paste it down here. So we come and say we want to transpose. We want to transpose. Okay. I see our formula failed because the transpose failed because the data set we have on this side is dependent on formulas. The data set we have on this side is dependent on formulas. So not unless we select these and paste as values, unless we select these and paste as values. But of course, since I don't want you to lose the formula syntax, we can copy these and just paste it below, paste it as values below, paste it as 1, 2, 3 below here, so that we lose out the function, the transpose function behind it. Then now the one we've pasted as values, that is the one I want us to cut. Actually, let us cut it so that, no, let us copy it. Let us copy it. And then we will paste it here as transpose. We will paste it here as transpose, and that should come perfectly. And of course, I will need to remove this. There's this row for products, or we can leave it in there. There's no worry. Remember, we said this data is just instructional. I just created some random data set. We necessarily do not need it making any sense. At least being able to do is the important bit. So having pasted it, you're going to notice that my serial number has adjusted from this 15 that was, or was it 17, all the way to now showing 30 and 31. And if I decide to delete these 2 rows of data, the data set, these 2 or 3 rows of data, if I decide to delete those, when I press enter, automatically you see my number changes from 31 to now 27, 28. So which means our numbering system works, but now we have also learned how to create and do transpose with 1 using the function, and 2 using the paste special command option. Are we okay to that regard? Please give me an indication you're following. Do we have any question? Do we have any question? Have we been able to achieve that? Please give me a hint so that we can proceed to the next item. In the interest of time, we only have about 42 minutes. Anybody who has achieved this so far? Anne is asking that we repeat the formula way. That is beautiful. We'll be able to do that just now. So if you want to transpose using the formula way, it's pretty easy, actually. You just need to know or to remember the formula syntax. So put your cursor where you'd want the transposed data to appear at. Put your cursor where you'd want the transposed formula to appear at. Press equals, then type the word transpose. Type the word transpose. Then, of course, you will press tab or double click on the word transpose as it appears, so that you have the word transpose, then with an opening bracket. Then you simply come and select the data set that you'd wish to transpose, knowing that transposing simply means vertically oriented data set will be horizontally aligned. Horizontally sitting data set will be vertically realigned. So we come and select the area we would wish to transpose. So I'll come and select from the word product let me say I want to transpose up to the first set of data, which ended at number 13. You just select that area, highlight, then press enter, and you're home and dry. That very easy. So you simply say equals transpose, select the array, press enter, and we are done. That is how we achieve transpose using the formula way. Initially, before Microsoft did the adjustment, what we would have done is we would have first needed to select the area we would be transposing on. Then we would come in and write the formula in it, transpose. Then we would come and now select the area we would wish to transpose. Then we would be needed to press Control Shift Enter, like that. So it was a bit of a process, but in the spirit of trying to simplifying your user experience as a data user on Excel, Microsoft decided to make it very easy so that it's now straightforward as much as it is an array function. As much as it's an array function. And can you confirm you've been able to achieve that bit now? The one for using a function, so that we move to the next formula. Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll move to that will be the third formula. Let us put the fourth one here. And I want us to try and extract some part of our formula. I want us to assume we want to extract some part of our formula. So we have this data that we've created here that sits on now column A to F. Assume that your boss is asking you to only give them, a summary of the product listing, their margins, and the sales only. Or maybe let's pick product, sales, and cost. We only need to see product, cost, sales, and cost. The revenue, the margins, and the serial number are not interesting, are not beneficial, are not important to your board. So normally, or in the past, you'd need to, the way I've highlighted them, you'd need to copy, then go paste them somewhere else. But now, pasting somewhere else would mean if the original data changes, then you have to again repeat the copy again. Microsoft has introduced a formula that you can actually use to extract part of the data to achieve whatever goals you have without necessarily interfering with the original data as it is, but also maintaining a connection in that in the event the original formula changes, the original data set changes, then the extract you have made also remains relevant. So how do we do that? So we are going to assume that we need to extract column B, C, column B, D for Daniel, and F for flower. So what we'll do is I want us to first create some space where we will put it in. So insert at least 4 columns just after where we have our data. So I'm inserting 4 columns. And if you've attended our previous classes, you will know that pressing Control Plus will basically give you the automatic columns that we're looking for. So I've selected 4 columns and I've pressed Control Plus. You can alternatively select the four columns and press right click, insert. We'll get you the same response, but whatever works for you best is what you follow. So I have some new columns here. Now I want to quickly extract column B, D, and F so that I can analyze it separately. So what we need to do is we are going to skip column G here, assuming that is the column we do not need, so that we need our new extracted data to be here. And this could be done on a different sheet, depending on what it is you want to achieve. So if I wanted to achieve those two, I would come and put my cursor, where I want the data to start at. Then I will say equals choose, the word choose, and I want to choose columns. So choose calls. Call stands for columns, and then choose rows. If you want to choose specific rows. So I want to choose columns. So I'll just click on the second one, which is choose calls, like that. And then now you need to first highlight the array of data. So I will come and highlight, columns A, B, C, D, E, and F, like that. The whole range of data the way it is, sorry. So column A to column F, that is the array. Put a comma. Then now you need to specify the column numbers that you're interested in. So this now works a little bit more like Vlookup. So you will start counting your column numbers from where your array selection started. So notice that I selected from column A, so column A automatically becomes column one. If I had selected from B, if I'd selected B, C, D, E, then B would have been number 1, okay? But for now, we have selected A to F. And remember, we said we wanted the column for product. So product is in column B, that will be number 2. So you write 2. You type in the numeral 2, comma. We also wanted column sales. Sales is column D, since A was number 1. Sales is in column D, which is number 4, comma, and we also wanted cost, which is column number 6. Excuse me, which is column number 6. And then you simply press your enter. You'll simply be able to press your enter, and that should have given you that should have given you your result. That should have given you your result. Have we been able to get an answer on our side? Please confirm on your side if you got a response. So we've basically just written equals, choose columns, then we specify the columns we are interested in. I think I may have an idea why our formula is misbehaving. So let me try and change my syntax before I confirm. So let me change this to 4 into 20. Okay. I have figured out why the formula failed. The reason why the formula failed and we got a spill error, notice that the heading that I have in B is on a merged cell. I have merged cells, B, C, D, E, which then means if we selected columns A to F, which means even the merged cell was combined. So Excel is not very sure how to deal with this merged cell here, whether since I need column B and D and I do not need C, while C is part of the merged cell for this row. So they are finding it difficult to determine what exactly I'm in need of. So the way we are going to adjust our formula is, instead of in our formula choosing notice that when you select the column from up here, you're actually selecting the entire column. When you select the column from up here, you are selecting the entire column contents. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to select specific ranges. So what you do is double click on your answer, on your formula. Then you see where you have A column F, A colon F. So just after the A, type 4 so that it's A4. Why 4? Because A4 becomes now this specific cell here. So we want to select from A4, and then I'm going to find the number for the last item, which is 32. Our data ends at 32, or if you want it to end at 30, we can put it at 30 so that it ends here. So after F, type in 30, and you will see the highlight has now gone over the entire data set, leaving out that cell which is merged, which is what was bringing us the problem. And when you press an enter, you should now be having your result, which is basically now an extract of the entire data set, but only giving us the columns that we decided to bring in. Only bringing us the columns we decided to bring in. Now, the beauty of this is, in the event, let's say our margin for motor vehicle changes from 33% to, let's say, 50%, 0.5. You will not need to repeat copying and pasting again. When you press enter, automatically motor vehicle, we did not bring in the margins, so maybe that will not populate. Let me pick a column that we brought in our data. So this was 0.33. Let me bring, we had, let me change which one. let me change sales. We brought our sales. So let me change the sales. And notice I'm changing it from this side. I'm not trying to change it from the consolidated data because the consolidated data is also reading from another place. So we cannot change this one here. If you change anything inside this data, everything is going to collapse out. So I'm going to change the sales of motor vehicle here from 439 to 600. So if I press enter, I'm expecting the 600 to change the motor vehicle that is here to 600, and also motor vehicle sales here to change to 600 like that. So you see now I didn't need to redo the extraction, as it were, to try to bring that here like that. Okay. Give me a nod if you've been able to achieve that. And is it the extraction that is an issue? We can repeat that. So Anne seems not to have been able to extract, so I'll repeat that bit. So I'm just deleting the data set that has been extracted, and I'm going to repeat the function we are using here is equals choose calls. Remember I said choose calls is to choose the columns, choose rows is choosing the rows. So choose columns. Then we are going to select the entire array of data, but now we're going to put our cursor on serial number. Then I will press Control Shift right and down like that. That selects the entire data set we're having. Put on a comma. Then we are going to now decide the columns we want, which we need is column 2, column 4, and column 6. When you press an enter, you should be okay. Anne is saying that he imagines it's a version issue. And if you were able to do vstack, then you should be able to do choose calls, because those are functions that were introduced at the same time. So if vstack worked for you, then perhaps you should be able to also achieve this one, but we'll try and get back to you in a short while. So that is the fourth function that we've done. And now I would want us to try and do the fifth and last item before we welcome the question and answer session. Before we welcome the question and answer session. So what I want you to do is I want you to add in, have at least 2 open rows, rather 2 open columns after where your original data is. Original data, I mean column A to F. I want you to have at least 2 additional blank rows. I want us to try and achieve something. Okay, so you see the way I want us to assume this is a to-do list, or these are products that we have. And as a person who is managing these products, I would want to know when a product, let's say, runs out of stock, or when a product has been removed from the market. Now, if this was our checklist, it was our list of products, then perhaps if this product here is having an issue, then you might want to, for instance, strike it out. Okay, you might want to come and strike it out so that now it is not visible. But instead of having to strike it out, instead of having to come and strike it out, we can actually have checkboxes here. We can come and have checkboxes here that might perhaps allow us to be able to achieve that. And the checkboxes, we can try, we can achieve them using some conditional formatting rules. So what I want us to try and achieve is, just give me a minute as I do this, then perhaps we'll try and explain we'll try and explain if you can also follow through. I'm going to introduce a checkbox. Into my data. We have in the past introduced checkboxes while we were doing something. So I've introduced a checkbox here, which, as you can see, I'm able to click in and out to be able to achieve like that. So on this checkbox here, I want to be able to format it so that I give it a cell. The cell that I want to give it is G1. I'll explain why I'm giving it G1, so that when I click on, actually mean G5. Let me put it on G5. G5. Let me change it to G5 like that. And then what I will do here is to to avoid the noise in the background, I'll have that so that I'm able to check and uncheck this box like that. But now what I want us to achieve is that when I check this box, then it means this product is or it's performance. So I would wish it to be striked out. I would wish it to be striked out. So what we can do is we can use a little bit of conditional formatting to try and achieve that. We can use a little bit of conditional formatting to try and achieve that. And what we'll do is we'll go to conditional formatting here and say we want to create a rule. Under conditional formatting, we'll say we want to create a rule. And the rule I want us to create is using a formula. We want to try and create a rule using a formula like that. Now, which formula is this that we would want to introduce? So we'll come here and notice that when I click on this checkbox here, it gives me a true or false. So I'll try in the formula here to try and say that if that this cell, the cell G5 equals to true. Why am I saying cell G5 equals to true? Because the moment I click this checkbox, the word true is written on the cell. I'm going to show you. I've just hidden it in color white. Then I want to do a formatting convention. So I want to click format and say that I want it to be stricken through. I want it to be stricken through like that. And then say, okay. But I think I did not select the cells I would want to be stricken through. So just give me a minute again. So I'd want the products and all these details to be dealt with in that manner. So I'll click on conditional formatting, create a rule. The rule is based on a formula, and the formula is if that G5 equals the word true, then what we would want to happen is we would wish you to strike through the selected items, and we'll say okay and click OK again. So now, if this works perfectly, then when I click on this checkbox, then you see the word cosmetics is being stricken out, and when we untick, it is left out. But I would wish this to strike out even the margin, sales, and revenue. So that is at least progress. So I'll just go back to my conditional formatting rule and try to adjust it. So I'll go to manage rule, come to the rule that we have. So click on this sheet, this worksheet, click on this formula and check where it applies to cell B5 to F5, B5 to F5, but it doesn't lock it all. So perhaps I can remove the dollar signs here and see the effect that has on us. Apply, okay. Okay, so at least so far our formula is only working on one cell on the first row. So we are able to strike out the product. So for anybody who's interested in being able, so this could be your to-do list. You have this list of customers, you've been reaching out to them, and you'd wish to know the customers you've been able to talk to so that you don't repeat talking to them again tomorrow or something like that, or you're making a follow-up. So you'd wish that when you've already spoken to a customer, then their name is stricken out so they can know. So you simply come and check on this box, and when you check the box, the customer's name is stricken out like that. How you can achieve that is what we've done. So now allow me to just take you through it in the next 5 minutes, then we can open the Q&A session. So if you are interested in doing that, I want you now to follow with me. So I'll remove this so that we start afresh all together, or I can just leave it and then we create for row number 2. I can start again and then we create this for row number 2. So what we're going to do is you will go to the developer tab. We have home, insert in the ribbon. There's the developer tab. I have a feeling some of us may not be having the developer tab. So what I want you to do, if you do not see the developer icon up in the ribbon, click on file, click on File, then go to Options, click on File, go to Options, go to Options, then you will come to Customize Ribbon. We'll come to Customize Ribbon. Then on the right side, you will see the word developer not ticked. You'll see the word developer not ticked. So ensure you put a tick on yours. If yours is already ticked, then that means you should have seen it on the ribbon. Then click OK. Click OK. That brings us the developer tab. Good? Good. So now click on the developer tab and click on, there's a small briefcase somewhere at the center. The briefcase could be white, like mine, depending on the version of Office you're having, or it could be black if you're using 2010 and below. So click on the briefcase nonetheless and select the checkbox. The checkbox is in the very first grouping of form controls. You will see a box with a tick inside, the third option. Click on it. When you click on it, it has been copied. You will notice that your cursor now has a small plus sign to it. Click on that plus sign and drag it in the cell where you'd wish the checkbox to be. Drag it in the cell where you'd wish the checkbox to be, and you will see that you now have a checkbox. You will see that you now have a checkbox like that. So now when you have the checkbox, so when you put a tick inside the checkbox, you can check and uncheck that box. Now we need to quickly adjust the checkbox so that it communicates with the data that we have. So what you're going to do is put your cursor on the checkbox without clicking, then right click, and then in the pop-up that comes, in the very last option you will see form control. In the very last option you will see form control. Click on form control, then skip everything and go to cell link. Skip everything and go to cell link. Then under cell link, I want you to choose the cell in which you have placed that checkbox. Click the cell that is behind that checkbox, and then say OK. Okay, so you click on the cell behind which that checkbox is, and then click OK. That is okay? I believe so. Then what you will do is now you will click outside away from the checkbox. You will now notice that when you click on the checkbox, you have a tick, and when you untick the checkbox, you still have a tick. Though I know you are noticing that you can see the word true and or false behind the checkbox. What I have done so that I don't see those wordings, you can see I've now brought them back, is I've selected that column where my checkboxes are and changed the font to color white, so that now white on white doesn't shout, so that I'm not able to see the wordings, but they are there. So now when I tick the checkbox, I can see it. I only see the checkbox ticked, and when I untick it, it gets away. So then now to introduce the conditional formatting and connect it to the checkbox, I will now go to conditional formatting. Now, when you're doing conditional formatting, you first need to select the area you'd wish to apply the conditional formatting on. So I will come and highlight that row of data, row number 6, where our data is. So from the word stationery to the cost, I will go to conditional formatting, and I will say create a new role. Create a new role. Then I will go to use a formula to determine which cells to format. All right. Then put our cursor on where we write the formula just below here. Then we're going to say that equals, and then click on the cell that you had where you had that checkbox, the cell with the checkbox, then say equals true. So basically you're saying that if the cell with the checkbox is true, but the cell with the checkbox will only be true if the checkbox has been checked. So you're saying that if the checkbox has been checked, then apply the condition I'm going to give. So what is the condition? The condition, now you come to preview, you will see the word format. So you click on format, and then you choose what you'd want it to be done. So we want to say strike through, And we can even say when that is true, then I want it to be bolded. I want it to be bolded. When the checkbox is true, I want it to be bolded. Then you now proceed to say OK, and then click again OK. And just like that, you are now a genius. When you now come and click on your checkbox, you can see all of them have been bolded and stricken through. When I untick, they remain unbolded and not stricken through. When I tick, bolded and stricken through. When I untick, unbolded and stricken through. And just like that, you become a genius so that you can now be able to monitor. So if this was your list of, companies that you are supposed to get in touch with, when I've spoken to cosmetic, I just come and check their box. They are crossed out so that I don't need to talk to them again. When I've not spoken to them, then the checkbox remain unchecked. And I can proceed to do that like that for any other kind of task that I wanted or I ought to be able to achieve. Can I see in the chat box if there's anybody who has been able to achieve introducing that dynamic checkbox that allows us to monitor whatever it is we intend to monitor? Anybody who's been able to achieve that? Do we have anybody who tried and was not able to achieve it? Maybe perhaps we can repeat one more. Perhaps we can be able to repeat one more. So again, now that everybody has the developer tab, I'll click on developer. I'll click on the insert icon. I will choose the checkbox. I will come and draw the checkbox here. I'll come and draw the checkbox here. So Anne says she got lost. Kindly, we are repeating. So I've just brought in another checkbox here. And of course, I can put in the checkbox here so that it's full like that. So I have the checkbox here. And of course, if I wanted numerous checkboxes, I can just now copy this one and paste it multiple times. So I can just come and now paste it multiple times if I want, and then decide to arrange it so that it now fits in for all my products. Wait a minute. Actually, I think there's a way I can. Can we do that? Can we do that? Good. You actually don't need to copy and paste. You can drag the checkbox just as a formula. You can drag the checkbox just as a formula. So let me just undo the numerous checkbox. We've only done other checkboxes. So you can just click on the, yes, somebody said something? So we can actually just click on the cell with the first checkbox and drag it all the way down up to where we want the checkboxes to appear, and we'll be having a list of checkboxes. And now that we actually are even editing, let me undo. We can remove so that the name checkbox which appears beside the checkbox is out there. So I'll click edit. I'll click edit so that I rename edit text. And then I will remove that CH name that is there. Edit text. This one also I can edit the name so that I don't have the word checkbox like that. Yes. Then now I can just drag this formula down and we have our whole list of checkboxes. But notice that now these checkboxes, we will now need to connect each checkbox on itself. So currently, because I dragged on this one, it's reading on the cell that it has. So for this one, I would need to right click on it, format control, and then tight. Okay. Good idea. We can use conditional formatting. So what we will do here, is on our checkboxes here, before we drag them down, we can be able to adjust on our formula. We can be able to adjust on the format control so that instead of having the number 6 locked, it remains flexible. Then in that regard, we can now be able to drag this and it should work fine. They're still connected. So that means you will need to edit individual checkboxes on the, depending on the cell where it sits. So this one, you will come and change it and say the cell is this one here, so that now it is not connected. I can now click it by itself. You see, these ones that we still click together, again, you come to the next one and you format control on it all the way to the end, and you choose the cell in which it appears like that. So that is that. I will let you do that as part of your homework in finishing them off, okay? In finishing the remaining part off. So now, having inserted the checkbox, what you now do is do the conditional formatting, the part where Anne got lost at. So how we achieve that is you come and select the line that you'd wish to conditionally format. So this is the line I'm selecting. I've selected this line, and then I want to edit it based on this checkbox here. So what I will do, I'll go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and then I click on New Rule. I click on New Rule. Then I will go to Format using a formula. Then I will say equals and equals. Then because this is the one we are editing, we will now say G3, or we can come and click on this cell here, equals true. That one equals true. Then we say, what is the format we want? We would wish it to be stricken through. And this one, this side, we want us to make it italic. And then we say, okay, and okay. So that now when it's checked out, it's when you check it in, it's italicized and stricken out. When you uncheck it, it remains well. Now, of course, I know you're wondering if you will repeat it for all these other remaining cells. Do not worry. I was repeating them just so that you master what we were doing. So if I want now each of these checkboxes to operate, the only part you will need to do manually is ensuring each checkbox only communicates with the cell in which it is on. That's the only part that is manual. So ensuring that each checkbox operates only itself. It doesn't work with the others. You see, currently, when I check this box, all the remaining ones down here also get checked. So I'll need to disconnect each of them. And how you do that is you right-click, you format, and then you change the cell link to the cell on which the checkbox selected is on. That is what you want to do, okay, for each of them. Then when all of that is done, what you will now do is you will now come and select. I've already done up to the third one. So I will now come and select all of this, okay? Then do the conditional formatting in one sweep. So I'll come and say, I want to create a new rule. And the rule I'm creating is used still based on the formula. And as I write the formula, I'll now be very keen with my cell referencing. So because I started selecting from this cell, I'll click on this one. But I'll be very keen to ensure that I remove this locking on 8 so that it reads, when it comes from this next cell, it's able to change it to G9, G10, G11, all the way down like that. Okay, what formatting do we want? We want them to be formatted by this time. Let's say we want to strike through still. We want to strike through and make them just bold italics, or even let us even change the color. I mean, you can do everything you want. We want to make them color red when they're stricken out. And we say, okay, and we say, okay, and we are good. The only problem is now all of them are going to be affected because, as I said, currently all the remaining ones down here are still connected with the one with this one here. So that is the challenge for now. For now, that is the challenge. So we will need to figure a way of solving each of them so that at least they're released for each of them operates on itself, but at least you are able to get the idea. You are able to get the idea. So that is how the check through the checking system would actually work. And I think that is the bit I wanted us to be able to look at today. I will allow us to ask questions for those who have, and we can have the session as it is. So back to studio to Jennifer. Kindly help us coordinate the question and answer session if we have any.
Thank you, Dashan, for an interactive session. Before we wind up, as Dashan has mentioned, we are getting into the question and answer segment. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. If you cannot raise your hand, you can type your question in the chat box and Dashan will have a look and respond. As we answer the questions, as we send out the questions, my colleague has shared some poll. please answer the questions and let us know what you think about today's webinar as we wait for your questions. Any questions? Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
You can unmute yourself and speak if you want to ask your question verbally. Jashan, I can't see CPA Jashan. I can't see anyone who's raised their hand.
Okay.
Or anyone who's posted their question in the chat box. So I'm going to assume everybody is okay. If you're not okay, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to share a link of our socials as we introduce the rest of the team. We also have an ongoing poll. Please feel free to respond so that we can get your feedback moving forward. Samuel, I can see you asked a question. Yes, we will share a recording of this on our YouTube channel. So given that we have no questions, my team members, please introduce yourselves. Zawel, any one of you can come in as we wind up.
Hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
can hear you.
My name is Fatoumata Kamara from Data Cave. I'm here as an IT person-ish. Yeah. I hope you had a very nice and interactive session and have learned and gained what you are hoping to from the session.
Thank you, Fatoumata. Zawel? As we wait for Zawel, I've shared a link of our socials on the chat box. Please follow us, make a comment, and we will be sharing the recording of this once we are done editing on our YouTube channel. So please follow and subscribe. Zawel?
Yes, Jennifer.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Zawel Ndiki, and Finance and Accounting Department. It has been a good pleasure to share the Excel. Thank you, Jashon. We also got some tips on, and still we keep on. For the team outside, we encourage you to keep up and follow us as we keep on with our platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Zawel. Fred is not in, so we are going to wind up. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. We have a series of webinars. We will be sharing with you an image of our webinar schedule as we plan to progress over the course of the year. We have a schedule till April, so you can have a look and feel free to interact with us. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, feel free, send a DM on Instagram, reach out on Twitter, and we will be happy to assist. It is now 5 p.m. We will be winding up. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've taken time to participate in the polls that have been shared. let us know your comments so that we can work to tailoring our webinars to cater to what you would like us to address. We will be winding up. You can leave at your own leisure. I can see people are still commenting in the comments. Thank you so much. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can leave at your own leisure. It was nice having you join us for the interactive session. CPA Jashan has done a great job. I can see somebody saying the WhatsApp link is not working. We will, hi, and I will send you an invite for the WhatsApp link. We have your details. If you registered for the webinar, we have your details. When we are sending out the certificates, I'll be sure to include the WhatsApp link so that you can join. You can register and join.
Plus, I think the WhatsApp link will only work if you click on it from your phone, not from the laptop. But we will reach out and see if there's a challenge. So thank you everyone for being with us. Thanks so much. Have a blessed evening. See you next time.